Welcome back, everybody. So in this assignment we're going to be talking about patterns. We're going to talk about the basics of a pattern, breaking a pattern down to its single piece or its kind of tile element, and how to build that up into a full pattern. And so you can see here we'll be talking about assignment 7 and assignment 8 during this video. Assignment 7 deals with creating a single pattern tile, and then assignment 8 will talk about how we can turn that into a full pattern on an 11 by 17 page, which will be your assignment. So first we're going to learn a new tool for this assignment, and that is the pen tool. It's a very, very useful tool, something you should get to learn, get to know very well. Before we've just been dealing with rectilinear lines and shapes, and now we'll be able to do a little bit more with curved lines and organic forms. So the pen tool has a lot of capabilities. If you hold down, you can see there's the pen tool, add anchor point, delete anchor point, and convert anchor point, and we'll talk about all those right now. So first, just the normal pen tool. You can go to the pen tool or hit P on your keyboard. You can see that if you just click any two spots, it just makes a continuous line, a straight line. So it's rectilinear, nothing new about that. You can move around the individual points, just like we talked about before with the direct selection tool, or you can move the whole thing around. Nothing too special. But if you click and then click and drag, you can see that you get this nice curve happening. And you can see that there are these two handles that kind of come off as you drag. So now we've got this really curvy form here. And I can go and I can move these around. And you can see if you click on a control point that has these little handles, you can pull on these handles and adjust the curve. So under the pen tool there's add anchor point, so I can add an anchor point anywhere on the line, and I can manipulate those as well to kind of further shape this curve that I'm doing. You can also delete anchor points. First you have to be selected on it. You can go ahead and you can remove anchor points, and you can see it'll snap the curve back as if that point wasn't there. And then the last one is the convert anchor point tool. So say I've got a point here and it's got these handles on it and it's curved, but I just want to adjust this curve right here, and I want this to stay kind of straight. I want to make this straight, and I want to be able to adjust this part. So if I have a straight line and then it goes into a curve, I want to be able to do that. But every time I adjust the handles, it moves both sides. So with the convert anchor point tool, what you can do is you can click on any of the handles and it moves it around separately. So you can see it kind of broke that middle point on this anchor point and is allowing me to adjust this curve independent of the other side of the point. So this one stays straight, and whatever side you're dragging on, you can move around. And the same goes for this side as well. So I can drag this side around independent of this curve. Now say I've got something here and I've kind of got these unjoined curves here, and I want to kind of make them one continuous curve again. You can use the convert anchor point tool again for that. So I can go ahead and I can click on that point and I can drag out, and it makes it one continuous curve again. So with the pen tool you can make any kind of shape, and once you connect it back to the end, you'll see this little circle that pops up at the bottom right of the tool. That means you're going to continue, or you're going to complete the shape. So now I have one continuous shape. and I can fill that shape, and I can, with any color, just like it's a normal shape. I can scale it and it works just like any other shape, except it has these nice curves that I can play with. So that's the basics of the pen tool. So you can use that, and I'm going to use that now to kind of explore different shapes. And for the first assignment 7, what you need to do is kind of explore and create at least 4 different tiles. Pattern, pretty much, the basic building block of your pattern. Create 4 of those, and then we'll choose one of those and make a full-blown pattern out of that. So I'm going to start with an ellipse here. Take off the fill, and I'm going to grab the pen tool. Actually, I'm going to grab the direct selection tool. I'm going to grab this, and you'll notice now that the ellipse has these nice curves, because anything with a curved surface, any line that's curved rather, will have these little handles that you can adjust. So I'm going to pull this down, and as simple as that, that can be one of my building blocks. And you can see if I wanted to, I could make a pattern out of that. So you have your basic building block, and then you can also make like larger building blocks. So I can take these, I can group those together. So that's kind of like one piece. And then I can just start building with this piece. Just by dragging out copies. And I can select all of those. And go on and on. And as you continue to do that, you'll continue to get a pattern. And so that's just one shape that I wanted to explore. I'm going to go ahead and make a couple more, and then we'll choose one and make a pattern on this 11 by 17 page with it. And then I just want to make a straight line from here to here. Oops, here to here. Line those up, pull these down a bit. Try that to better at the beginning, there we go. So I want to mirror this, I want to make a copy of it. So I can click on this and I can hit the O key, or I can go over here to the reflect tool. It's under the rotate tool. I can choose a point of where I want to rotate it and then just click and drag, and if I hold shift and alt, it'll rotate it and copy it at 90 degrees. So I can copy that. I can highlight both of these and join them to make one continuous shape. So now I've kind of got a new starting point, and I want to make this the basis of, possibly another pattern. I can go ahead and just copy these. And so you can see by quickly kind of duplicating over and over again what you're doing, you can quickly lay out a pattern in not too much time. Kind of exponentially multiplies. So you can see already I've got a full 11 by 17 page filled with a pattern. Now it's pretty quick, and you can do multiple patterns. Just kind of explore what you find interesting. So that's one way of making your full 11 by 17 pattern, starting just from one shape. Now another way to do that is with the pattern tool, which is in Illustrator CS6 if you are using that. So I can click on this shape. I'm going to shrink this down a bit. Okay, so we go to Object, go to Pattern, and then click Make. And you can see here that there's a few different ways you can lay out this pattern. You can do grid, brick by brick, brick by column, hexagon, or hex by row. I think I kind of like the brick by brick layout. You can choose the offset for these pieces. And so what this is actually doing is it's creating kind of like a swatch. Rather than just a bunch of objects multiplied on a page, it's creating its own custom kind of color that is a pattern that you can fill in any shape with. So I say I like this, and I click Done, and then that's saved. It'll disappear and you'll wonder what the heck's going on, but it's actually saved. So if I wanted to, I could blow this up, and I could go into the swatches panel, either here or over here on the right, and I can see here's that pattern that I just made, and I can click that and it'll fill that shape with my pattern, which is kind of nice. Then you can rotate that around. So you can see that it's rotating just the outside shape itself, and it's not actually rotating the pattern inside. And there's a way that you can do that if you want. First I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to make a shape that is the size of this 11 by 17 page here. So now it's filled with that pattern that I just made, and what I want to do is to kind of shrink down the scale of this, possibly rotate it a bit and maybe play around with it. So what you can do is the tilde key on your keyboard looks like this. It's not really used for much on the keyboard normally, but on Macs it's right above the tab key and below the escape key. I would imagine it'd be around the same place on a Windows computer, but it kind of has this little squiggle on it with another line beneath it. It's kind of like that. So that's the tilde key, and if you hold that down, so I click on this shape and I hit R for the rotate tool, and if I hold the tilde key as I rotate, it looks like it'll rotate the shape, but it's actually rotating the pattern on the inside. So you can rotate the pattern. If you go to the scale tool, hit S for that, you can shrink it down, or you can build it up again. Not too big. That's kind of smashing it a bit. It's important to hold Shift while you're scaling so that it scales proportionally. But yeah, you can scale this any way that you like. So that's how to adjust the pattern on the inside of the shape. So for these two assignments, assignment 7, find and create 4 basic tiles with which you can create a pattern, and then assignment 8 is to create an 11 by 17 pattern using one of those tiles that you thought interesting. Maybe it can be a little bit more complex than this, but it's just a simple example to kind of show how it's possible to build a pattern using the pattern tool and without using the pattern tool. I think it's important to try it first without the pattern tool, so that way you can kind of understand exactly how you want the pattern to lay out. It's important to know how exactly you want this tile to kind of duplicate around itself. And once you've figured that out, then you can go to the pattern tool and kind of use that to fill in the space really quickly. Put that